You ready?
Yeah,
All right. Welcome y'all to the Reality or Not podcast with your boy DJ Reality, my homegirl Latoya Jackson. Latoya, how you doing today?
I'm great. How are you?
I'm doing pretty good. A little sleepy, but I'm figuring it out, making moves. So how was your day? What you got going on? How's everything going in your life?
It's going. It's busy, busy. Made
Okay.
for a long work day, but got to make the money. I'm gonna
Yeah.
get the money now.
Yeah, I feel you on that.
Exactly.
All right, so let's go ahead and jump right into it. We were talking about role entitlements, and as an example, we were going back and forth and saying how men should do this or women should do this, or simple things like taking out the trash, pumping gas. Uh, I don't know if I want to lead it to opening doors, but that can fall within the category as well. But how do you feel about people being entitled? And the way that I titled this topic was entitlement or laziness. So I'm just curious on your opinion on that.
Me and you when we first were trying to decide on a topic, that really was an interesting thing because I had it come up in a couple different variants over the last few days, and in my personal thought, I was like, I'm not sure if this is what we would call quote unquote princess behavior or entitlement or laziness. I'm not sure. I can honestly say that I can kind of view this from a biased standpoint because I never had any brothers. It was me and two of my sisters. Out of my grandfather's children, my mother was the only one that lived in Muskegon. And so a lot of the things we learned, because we were the only grandchildren that lived in Muskegon, it was like, somebody got to do it. You gonna learn how to do it. So it's not so much that you need somebody to do it because you can get the job done.
Mhm.
So when you're talking about simple things like mowing the lawn or taking out the trash, it and our the way I was raised, if you see that it needed to be done, you do it. That's just like, I don't know how many people can relate, but when you were younger, if you went to the trash and the trash was just about to be bubbling over, and you put that extra piece of trash on top of it, and somebody be like, "You see that trash is full, take it
Mhm.
out."
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And it
Mhm.
didn't matter the gender. If
Yeah.
you happen to be the one that they saw go over there and put that extra piece of something that was just teetering on about to fall off,
Mhm.
they gonna say to you, "You see that? Take care of it." And so in my mind, I'm wondering, because I've seen a lot of different things on social media, such as people saying, that's a man job. That's a man job.
Mhm.
But then at the same time, you want a boss and you want to lead. So I'm curious to wonder in most situations, relationship, friendship, whatever, where is the lead? Where do you draw the line? What is the definition of what the role should be if you see that something just needs to be done?
Yeah.
And
I
so I'm curious.
I think the line is blurred, and the reason why I think that, and this can go all the way to the point of as form as an entitlement, like men is supposed to be the breadwinners or things like that. And I feel like back in the day that could have been considered, but now like say for instance you lose your job, then it's like, well, who like it's and you have your salary over here, he has his salary over here, he loses his job, then who covers the mortgage, who covers the bills? It's like, well, it's like the give and take, so I say even something like taking out the garbage, right? Of course you're like, well, quote unquote a man is supposed to do that, but will I guess the question could be, say for instance there's something in the garbage and it's stinking or it's overflowing, and he's not there, he doesn't get off till 7 o'clock, you're at home at 5, do you just let it sit there until they get there? Or because I feel like it can create conflict. It's one of those things. I'm the person that, at least if I see something needs to be done, I'm not gonna say, well, and like I said, most of the time it comes to what the male role is. But when I see that something needs to be done, I just do it, because it's funny. I get on my mom about that, when you know, she would see something on the floor, but, like say for instance, I walk over something on the floor and I don't see it. She won't pick it up because she felt like I should have picked it up because I walked over it. Like I just didn't see it, but she felt like I should have picked it up anyway, just from the role of me walking in that space. So it's just always interesting, like all of these different angles, like you mentioned before, like being able to do the things that need to be done, as in I would love to have a man cut my grass, but hell, I'm not gonna let my grass grow out crazy just because I'm waiting for the man to volunteer to do it. And if that man doesn't volunteer, just say like this is say it's a relationship, right? And within that relationship, you got a house, he got a house. It's like, is the man required to come to your house and cut your grass? Or, and it's like, well, that's your house. That's not, he can do it out of his kindness, but he doesn't necessarily have to be, that shouldn't be his role.
Obligation. Exactly. Exactly. I agree 100%. And I'm just, it floored me in the way that it was presented to me, because the conversation basically stated in a roundabout way, well, I'm just basically not going to do that until he does this. So then I thought to myself, okay, is this a tit for tat situation? Is it, I'm not going to do this because you requested that? I'm not going to act on this part unless you're going to follow up with an action. And I'm thinking to myself, at the end of the day, the task still needed to be done.
Mm-hmm.
So you mean to tell me, and we'll go back to the trash thing, that it's okay for it to stink, to pile up, to sit there out of spite?
Yeah.
Is it okay for laundry to back up, or and this goes, vice versa? I'm not even just putting this on one gender, man or woman. I'm not going to do this because I feel this person or that person should do it. So then it goes to me into a tit for tat type of situation. I'm looking for a reaction off of an action, and to me, in certain roles or certain situations, that's just kind of weird. It's just kind of weird to me, because I like I say, I can put this on my independence and the fact that I didn't have any brothers, so I don't really know what would be considered to be the boy role. In our household, you had to do the chores because they had to get done. And that included everything: laundry, trash, mowing the lawn, raking, shoveling. I mean, even those things, because we live up north where it's you ain't waiting on somebody to come and dig your car out and we gotta go.
Mm-hmm.
You're gonna put this gear on, you're gonna bundle up and get out here and get it done. So when I hear those kinds of things, especially in relationships, and you wonder why there is a certain amount of friction in the relationship, I say to myself, is it because a good portion of what y'all got going on is based off of tit for tat?
Yep.
I'm only going to reciprocate if I'm given something in return. And then that led me down that road of thinking, what constitutes a partnership?
Mm-hmm.
If and I'm not married, but if I was, I would assume that all chores or things or roles around the house are joint. If I'm going to stay true to my vows, and in those vows it says for richer, for poor, sicker in health, Lord forbid my partner or my mate was to get ill or down on his health, would I then allow things to go undone because I'm waiting on him to get better to do it?
Yep. No, and that's the awkward part, because you said the tit for tat part, right? So going tit for tat, in my opinion, that's, you had said that that's where problems can, or it's dangerous. That's where it can. It's like, well, I'm not going to do this because you're not doing this, or I'm not going to, and then, I mean, because I always think about it like, say for instance, my house, right? Say for instance, like someone like if I end up in a relationship where we're cohabitating or we're married, me being obligated to all of the bills is just crazy to me. Just because if I'm gonna pay for if I have the capacity to do it, then yeah, I would love for my wife to not work and stuff like that. But in this society that we live in right now, is almost
It's
impossible
through
to live
income.
without two salaries, like within the
Yeah.
house. So it's just one of them things. It's like, well, the man is supposed to provide, the woman is supposed to, but it's like, well, it like I said, if you like the losing a job situation, like, okay, well, how do we pay the mortgage? Like if you just have your money and you're doing whatever you want with it, just because that's what the man is supposed to do. And you have to be careful of those things. Like
Mhm.
you have mentioned the married thing. It's like if you're married, it's not always 50-50. It could be 70-30, 80-20, 30-70. It has to have a balance
And
where
mainly because you never know when those portion of the vows are going to get tested.
yeah.
You know, when you talk about the financial part, okay, let's say for instance, um, in this weird, awkward situation, the man loses the job
Hmm.
and the wife is now the breadwinner or in the midst of trying to run the household financially.
Hmm.
Do you stop loving or caring about this person because he no longer can hold his weight or he's in the midst of trying to pull himself back up? Or do you stick true to the vows and say, okay, when you lean in, I'm supposed to have your back. I'm
Hmm.
supposed to be able to be like, babe, we got this. No matter what the situation is, I'm gonna try to uplift you. I'm gonna try to support you. I'm gonna egg you on so that when you do get back on your feet, you appreciate what I've done. And in that way, it's reciprocated in like, say for instance, he says, babe, I'm back on my feet. Now I'm gonna take you on that vacation you always wanted to go
Hmm.
on. I'm gonna buy you that car you always wanted, or whatever the case may be. But in a lot of cases, in a lot of situations, in my friend circle and people that I know, it seems like when things get hard, the roles and the question of the partnership is questioned. And then it just makes me wonder, okay, so what were the hard conversations y'all were having during the dating or the courting phase?
Yeah.
What were the things that y'all were talking about? The what ifs. A lot of times people get so caught up in the immediates or the lust factor or what a person is doing right now. But
Hmm.
say, for instance, that's tested. Have y'all ever talked about the what ifs? And
Hmm.
what do these roles mean if they have to shift?
Hmm.
So you mean to tell me you're the stay-at-home wife or you work from home or whatever, your husband goes out, he works several hours out the day. Obviously, this person is tired and you're at home all day. You mean to tell me taking the trash out is a hard task and you there all day? That this now leads to tension and an argument because one step of the role is not being done on a regular basis, but you're home all day.
Yeah.
Y'all will allow those little things to test y'all relationship to the point where you like, I don't like this person. I don't want to be around this person, or you can't do manly stuff, or you should do this. And then if he, in some weird instance, says to you, well, why aren't you doing it? Now you feel challenged.
Yep.
Now you feel like this is cause for alarm that he is now challenging you. I'm confused nowadays with how this works. So you want, I saw something the other day and the man said, so you want to leave, but then you want me to protect you, provide for you, stand up for you, do all these things. But I'm supposed to stand in the back and somewhere be like a bitch boy too?
Yep.
How does that work? I'm so curious with the why.
Hmm.
I'm so curious with like what are y'all talking about during the courting phase before y'all get to these stages of cohabitating, living together, you know, all these things. What are y'all talking about when it comes to roles and responsibilities? And what does that look like if it happens to change?
Mm-hmm.
Like you just recently went through some things physically where
Yep.
you probably weren't able to do some of the things that you were used to doing.
Was
So
bedridden.
you mean to
Like,
tell me if you was dating somebody, she would then look at you as being weak or less than because you physically can't get up to take out the garbage? So you mean to tell me
mhm.
it would be okay for the trash to just pile up to Shantae can get up again
Yep.
and take it all out? I'm just gonna walk past this like I don't smell it.
And
Until Shantae
that's
can
the
get up.
crazy.
That's just interesting to me.
I feel like you should never like I said, that's the compensation part. Like, you know, even like like you said, I had surgery, I was laid out, I couldn't do nothing. I'm still dealing with recovery and stuff like that. So not that I expect anybody to, you know, do anything, but at the same time, I hope that if we have that communication that okay, I can lean more on you
Mhm.
than I normally could because like I said, I couldn't leave the bed for like almost 3 weeks. Well, I wasn't supposed to leave the bed for in recovery for like 3 weeks. And then the recovery was more the walking, more the just trying to move
Mhm.
around and make sure that I can, you know, I can function. So I can do everything. I can and I'm glad that, you know, there were people that was there for me that came, made sure I was good, including family, friends, relation, you know, all of that stuff that made it easier for me to deal with because it's just weird that entitlement thing that always bothered me where you know you're supposed to do da da da. But my problem is like say for instance if I give you a I say hey Toya you gotta I'm thinking in my head like Toya needs to um cook at least 3 times a week and she needs to deep clean both bathrooms on one of the days on a Saturday or Sunday. If I don't tell you those things, but I expect it, I can be mad just based off of things that I'm entitled or I'm expecting you to do.
Mhm.
And you know, people do
And
that.
then on top of that, building up a slight resentment towards me because it's not getting done.
Yep.
You
And,
know what I'm saying?
and then
It's
it's
like,
like you see, like you said, someone's working from home. It's like, well, why aren't you cooking? And but the thing is, people are afraid to have these conversations. Like, hey, you know, and they can have it doesn't be a hey, you got to cook 3 times a week or anything like that. But it's like, well, hey, what you cooking today? Let's try this recipe. I'll grab the ingredients. Can you start it before I get home? You know, it's how you approach the situation versus I expect you to do some things. It's like expectations versus standards. And it's kind of scary
mhm,
that people have the expectation, but they're not talking about it. And you know, I want to say everybody, but a
mhm,
lot of people claim to be introverted just because they don't like to communicate. And I'm like, well, no,
yeah,
I'll tell you, I'm an introverted type of person, but at the same time, when I like as a DJ, that's the part that kind of bring it out of me. But at the same
mhm,
time, I'm going to voice my concerns or the things that I want or the things that
oh,
you know with throughout the communication of the relationship. A lot of people are just afraid to do that, and they get married, and you know, not to say that I mean, I think it's 50-50 as far as, you know, divorce rates, but um it's just crazy that people moving or living together choose to not communicate with each
or
other.
have the what I call the hard conversations up front. As a person who actively dates or whatever, I know that I can be a hard person to kind of get to know at first because I'm the type of person I ask these hard questions,
Mm-hmm.
not so much out of um, trying to probe, but I really be wanting to see where your head is at because what would in my field we often refer to stages of relationships in the honeymoon phase.
Mm-hmm.
At some point in time, the veil dropped.
Mm-hmm.
The veil dropped. When you're dating and you're in the thrust of the beginning and stuff, people tend to always put their best foot forward. You're
Mm-hmm.
going to say the right things. You're going to do the right things. And you always, like, tell them what you want to hear, or you're the doting, or you're the spender, or you're the go out to eater. Another person referred to it being love bomb.
Mm-hmm.
And I say to these people, I'm like, okay, so when that phase is over, what y'all be talking about?
Mm-hmm.
Because my mom used to say this saying all the time when we was young. And the older I get, it holds a whole lot more weight. She'd be like, you can only lay down for so long. At some point in time, you got to stand up. So once the laying around and the laying up and the cuddling and all that done wore out, it's what are y'all talking about? How
Mm-hmm.
do you progress? How do you move forward? How do y'all talk through difficult situations? Um, in one situation that I know of, the person was describing the courting phase, and she was saying, "Well, he used to do this, and he would just send me money, and if I needed something or my kids needed something, he would just be like da 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 da." And this was all happening before y'all got married and you moved your family in.
Mm-hmm.
So now all the things he saw about you in the beginning, when it was mostly you and him and the courting and it wasn't the family thing, changed when you brought this whole family situation in. And so now you brought this person in, and I hate to say it, I'm type of the person that I'm kind of for the little bit of the shacking up. Sometimes I feel like people should take the time to live with a person, kind of be around a person for a little bit before you do the big jump, because sometimes you need to see exactly what you get.
Mm-hmm.
You went into this situation and there was a whole bunch of my and your. So here it is some years later, and you still saying, I got my bills, he got his bills. And I'm like, so where's the we?
Yeah.
So you're telling me that from the moment y'all started courting or whatever, y'all never sat down and talked about finances? You never paid attention to how this person paid bills, and if he was on top of his A game with certain things, what his credit was like. You never, you were so immersed in the courting part that y'all never had no hard conversation. You never thought to question why this person was even single in the first place.
Mm-hmm.
So when you're courting and you're going, and I'm like, so no hard conversations were ever had. You never asked this person like, how you is with paying your bills, like you on time with your gas, your water, your light.
Mm-hmm.
Do your internet get cut off on a regular? And you don't think about these things at first, but these little things start to show you what a person's pattern is. If I can't keep my cell phone bill paid, how you gonna pay a mortgage?
Yeah. So I think the things that you, at least the conversations that you have to have, are the things that that tick you off, if that makes sense. Like
Yeah,
the things that's going to trigger you. That's the first conversation you need to have. If
yeah.
if it's something as simple as, I don't know, you leave the toilet seat up, then I get pissed. It's like, okay, well, we got to work through that and figure it out, because I'm just saying like something simple, but it's like not having those conversations. And honestly, you say with with her moving in, and her, I don't know the whole, like her moving to his house or them moving in together, etc., whatever, however they did it. Like, you have to expect change. Like, I mean, of
Yeah.
course, chivalry is amazing, but like you said, it's a courting phase. It's the, I'm trying to please you. Like, you don't want no
This
person.
person had never seen your life with
Mhm,
your children and what your day to day look like. If I
mhm,
got my place, you got your place, and I'm coming over to Shantae place, right? and we
Mhm.
kicking and vibing, but you ain't got that going on at your house. I might somewhere using your house as a refuge. When I come there, it's me, you, we kicking it, we going to dinner, you buying it, you doing this, and again, we putting these imaginary roles out. You're doing all the things that so-called a man's supposed to do, and then I move my life into your life,
Mhm.
and I've now shifted your reality,
Yep. Change
and
the whole game.
the roles now have changed. And so if I'm the breadwinner and so Shante, you're the breadwinner. You
Mhm.
go out, you working 12 hours a day. I'm working from home. I got my kids here, da 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 da. And I come home and you say to me, that garbage need to go out. Am I supposed to not assume that at some point, if that happens every week, every month, or for a year or 10 years down the line, you're gonna look at me at some point and be like, so you been here all day and you ain't take the garbage out?
So, okay, wait, hold on one second. So, and I was just thinking about this. Think about it like this: a whole family moved in, right? So, me taking you out on a date is a whole different. I want to say a whole different process. But now, say for instance, we're going out and we're taking the kids with us. You know what I'm saying? And now it's like, well, we done shifted date costs or relationship costs. Like, say if it's 3 kids, we done shifted the cost of just going out and like that man has to. That's what I'm saying. The conversation has to be there. Like in that scenario, like, well, can you take care of the kids as well? You can't just have somebody move in.
Mm-hmm,
So I'm saying he automatically has to change his process. When
mm-hmm,
a family, a already made family, come in,
mm-hmm,
they're trying to, I want to say cohabitate, but they're trying to develop the relationship of living together. And that's a whole change in itself. So him, like she looks at it, and I can't speak for her specifically, but she's looking at it, in my opinion, as I'm just moving my family in. It shouldn't be that big of a deal. He might be looking at it like, say for instance, like me. I have a 5-bedroom house, um, just me and the dog. You know what I'm saying? Quiet. No, like if I hear something, I know what it is. If I put something right here, I know where it's at. If I put some leftovers in the refrigerator, I know they ain't gonna be ate. You know what I'm saying? So
yeah.
adjust to a lifestyle of not having, someone in your vicinity is one thing in itself. So adjusting the things that you expect from the courtship, in my opinion, shouldn't be that hard because of the major adjustment that that person had to do.
Mm-hmm.
So
And then you go into what we originally were talking about, definitions of roles. Because in that stage of all of this, were roles or expectations talked about?
yep.
Was it ever talked about that I expect for you to continue to check out the trash every day, to mow the lawn every day, to do all these things, but then expect you to go work 12 hours, 6 days a week, sometimes overtime, because now this person is now compensating for having a family and more than one mouth to feed.
Yeah.
Whereas this all changed, and I'm still in my, but you were doing this and doing that for me in my Princess Diva phase. And then I'm supposed to expect for you to not build up any animosity towards my whole life has changed.
Yep.
My whole perception of how things go has changed.
Yep.
And so I had another friend who tells me, well, I don't clean up behind dogs. Or I don't do
You don't
laundry. I don't
what?
do this. I don't clean up behind dogs. And I'm
Behind
thinking,
dogs.
yeah, just say you have a pet,
Uh-huh.
but that this has never been discussed. How the
Okay.
care is supposed to take place. So you mean to tell me you go out of town, I'm gonna just let poop or whatever go unattended
Which
because
is
I've already
crazy.
said in my mind I don't clean up you know what I'm saying? So
Mm-hmm.
I be thinking to myself,
And it wasn't a relation,
out
but
of
I'm
sheer curiosity,
like,
what things are being talked about? What is considered roles in a partnership.
Mhm.
What is a
Or
man's
friendship.
role? What is a woman's role to do when you're in a partnership?
Mhm.
Something has shifted, whether that be just even taking a simple vacation. Certain things I'm just not going to do because I feel like that's a man's job or that's the man's job to do, and vice versa. I'm not going to wash dishes because that's what she's supposed to do. So you just gonna let the dishes pile up? You just gonna go to it? Ain't a fork or spoon in the house?
Mhm.
You know what I'm saying? Because you're just gonna avoid doing that. You're not gonna go and wipe off the toilet seat or whatever because she been cleaning the bathroom. So you just gonna let the go bathroom unkept
Yeah.
because she can't do that. I'm just flabbergasted in today's age at what we consider to be roles, and yet we are so dominant in what our expectations are, and that goes both ways.
Mhm.
You know, you got women out here with some strong opinions.
Mhm.
You gonna do this, you gonna do that, you gonna do this, and like I said, I was watching something the other day, and it just sparked a whole thing in my head, and the man was like, literally, like, why don't women listen? He was like, even if we told you what our expectations was, you would go out of your way to explain it away,
Mhm.
as if there's some other meaning behind. No, I really mean like I can't take out the trash every day. Expect for some of the days for you to take the trash out. There's no extra intent behind that. That's really what I'm thinking. I need some assistance with this. I'm asking for your assistance with this. And your rebuttal to me is that's a man job.
It's sad, man. I feel like when you go into relationships with entitlement or expectations, that's when you lose. I mean, it's nothing wrong with having them, but it's like being upfront is always the easiest way to just, like I said, if it's little quirks and things about you that that bother you, then yeah, fine. But when you tell somebody, and automatically with me, I'm sorry, but if you tell me something I'm supposed to do, then I automatically am like, fuck all that. Like I ain't like, but if you say, hey, can you take out the trash? It's starting to get full or something. Like it's all about the approach and how you talk to people on things like if you tell me you the man, you're supposed to take out the trash, I'm a operate a whole different way than you saying, hey, can you take this trash out for me? It's starting to overfill and I'm about to cook dinner and da da da. Can you can you grab that for me, please? It's all about the approach. You know,
Hmm.
you approach people the wrong way and tell them they like say when somebody say something like, well, uh, you know, I'm trying to think of an extreme thing like, hey, we not gonna have sex because I'm mad at you or something like that. And it's like,
Oh yeah, let's yeah, let's go there.
like,
That
like
that 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 is common too, and
yeah.
then it leads into other areas of where the discomfort comes from because you're like, well, if I ain't gonna give it, I ain't gonna give it, I ain't gonna give it. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
but there is some truth to that saying. What you won't do, another one will. And I've had a friend who went through that as well, and would go long periods of time, and then there would be these big stints where it's constant accused and a constant accused of where he cheating and this and this. And I said, well, if that's frustrating you to that point, then why you don't leave?
Yeah.
Because if you holding out, here's the thing. Like I told her, he was sexually active when you got with him.
Mm-hmm.
So you think holding out or not giving him none makes the urge go away? Makes that feeling go away? By no means do it makes it go away. If the more you hold out, the intenser the urge is. And at some point, I'm going to release or act on something because what I got at home that could be helping me take care of this stress or pressure or whatever
Mm-hmm.
is holding out. And then the resentment builds.
Yep. Yeah, and can you imagine one thing you had said earlier, um, when like with the separation of the households as an example, when she was going over his house to be to get away from everything that the family and all that stuff, and dating all that stuff, getting out. He's essentially doing the same thing with whoever, just because he's frustrated at what's going on in the house. You don't want to get to that point where the house is in disarray and you're trying to figure out how to pull it back. You're telling people, "Hey, I won't do," like, that's one of the biggest things for me. That's just, I'm like, be the person, not necessarily be the person that you was when I met you, but try to have that same energy, as far like, you don't necessarily have to do the same things, but have the same energy as far as why I was like, okay, this person's the one. Because when you start shifting the energy, that's when that's where doubts come, because it's just weird to hear, like, every time you hear about a relationship breaking up, it's infidelity. It's like, well, damn, shit, like, why is it always that? It's like, well, sometimes people check out.
It was the things
And
that led up to the infidelity. It be stuff going on behind closed doors. You're like, man, I get tired too. I get tired of coming home to negative attitude. I get tired of coming home to stress. I get tired of coming home to these untalked about but weird expectations of what I should be doing, what I'm not doing great, what I could be doing better. But all along the way, we have not found a way to communicate what our expectations are of one another. And so when they're not met, we're just building up this animosity. Just build it. And one thing I've learned, because I have a lot of guy friends, and I learned a lot about guys and their mentality from being around my guy friends. And I had told one of my girlfriends, I was like, the one thing about, she's like, what if them people that you was hanging around were dogs? And I said, they probably were. I said, but at some point in time, they trusted me enough to be honest. And I said to her at that point, I was like, maybe they were, but at least they were honest. They had gotten to a place where they were comfortable enough with me, the different things that they were experiencing, going through, or whatever. They were honest about it, honest about their intentions, honest about their expectations, honest about why they were doing the things that they were doing, which innately allowed me to view them very differently. I had a different sense of understanding for where their mindset was coming from. And I would often tell my friends, like, sometimes y'all need to quit thinking like a dude. Quit thinking that you understand, or you are speaking for them because you want a you out of them. You want that energy that you have perceived in your mind, this perception that you have put together in your mind of what this relationship should look like, what it's supposed to come to the table, what this person's supposed to do, how he's supposed to provide, he's supposed to give you, pamper, pamper, pamper. And at the same time, not have no emotion, not have no feelings, not have a way to express themselves. And then when he does, you don't take it at face value. What I learned over them years, and like I said, for a long time, we always had like dudes around us, my sister's boyfriends and day friends and everything. That's just the way we kind of grew up. We was kind of like the cool house. But then into my adulthood, I had found myself in a situation where I was with my children's father, that I was also like the only female that they kind of over the years allowed to be around in their vulnerable state, if that makes sense. And I would just ask them stuff, and I would ask them questions, and I would ask them this and ask them that. And they would be honest with me. And sometimes it would be brutal. Sometimes I would be like, dang, I had no idea that this was the place or the mindset that thought process was coming from. But what it did was made me very much more in tune with the fact that what I think you're thinking is probably not the same. What I expect from you and what you expect from me without talking about it is probably not the same. What I feel you should be feeling or saying or doing and what you feel I should be saying and doing is probably not the same, especially if
So
we haven't discussed what our expectations are. So if I presented myself as being the type that can be bought, and I'm using that loosely, um, meaning that when he wooed me, all it took was a dinner, a date, a purse, a outfit, you know, a little money or whatever, and I was like putty.
Mhm.
And then when I get with you and find out that when you was doing them things, you was robbing Peter to pay Paul.
Mhm.
That money ain't even really there. And now here we both in a situation where I expect for you to cater to me, cater to me, cater to me. And you expect me to milk like butter. You know what I'm saying? And but this is not our reality.
Yeah,
This is
so
not
look at it. Look at it. So when you had said that, right? So look at it as things change within time, but be willing to accept the change, be able to accept the person that you're with. Because if you can't, and you got to have those hard conversations, even if it's uncomfortable. Because one question I was going to ask you is, do you think, and you had mentioned this before, do you think women are willing to accept honesty? And I say that as in because you said that people, your children and people were coming to you, they were brutally honest, and it was hard to hear, but they were saying how they felt. And is that, do you feel like that's accepted in relationships or dating
no, no, I really don't. Because again, I've literally witnessed people explaining it away, be like, he would never do that to me. He would never do this and he would never do that. And I don't that's one of the favorite things they like to say. I don't think. I was like, but at the end of the day, you're not them. You're not him. So you're trying to think for him. You're imposing your thoughts on what you feel this person should be doing, but you never asked him.
Yep.
And if he told you the truth, would you be able to handle it? Would and I'm just saying it like this, okay? And if the roles was reversed, if I came to you and we was kicking it or whatever, whatever, and then it get down the line and be like, you know, I was only liking you because you had some money or your penis was big and you know you was doing this, this, and this.
Mm-hmm.
But then I lived with you and I'm like, you low key a jerk.
Mm-hmm.
You low key, you know, arrogant. You low key ain't got no good standards. Shit, you low key nasty. You know what I'm saying? And I don't mean that in like a sexual way, but
I didn't
like
say low
you
key
don't
now.
keep yourself up. You don't keep the house up. You put on that cologne, but you'd have been at the gym, nigga, and you ain't showered all day. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
These things that we've masked, and then if I told you that, you would be like, damn, that's fucked up. That's how you feel. But now when women get told these things, we almost just don't want to believe you feel that way. If the dude told you like, man, I was crushing on you because you was cute as hell, but I found out low key, you low key dumb, or you really ain't about your business. You know, you ain't that clean, you know, your shit stink, whatever. You know, I just seen you, you know, without that hair, without the eyelashes, whatever the case may be. If
Mm-hmm.
I said it, if I said it, would you be able to handle it?
Mm-hmm.
Because
And
then
that
you're
that
gonna be like,
that's tough.
he didn't really mean that when deep down, yeah, he meant it.
Mm-hmm.
Or if he told you the only reason I was attracted to you because my homeboy said you had some good time.
Mm-hmm.
Now, you might not have knew this all along that this person knew this person or they had conversations about you. Maybe they ain't like, you know how you got friends that's like associates, but you that ain't your everyday homie. This
Yeah.
ain't nobody you might not see me with him all the time, but this my man's. When I see him out, you know, we chop it up and yada yada yada. And he probably told me, man, I had that shit. She fine with it. Woo, woo, woo.
Mm-hmm.
And my whole real initial attraction to you was I wanted to experience that.
Mm-hmm.
How did I know that those situations take place? I literally was around a group of guys who, at one point in time, they passed a chick along through the crew under
Mm-hmm.
those very premises, and I knew her.
Mm-hmm.
She didn't know that I knew that a couple of them had did
Yeah.
what they did,
Mm-hmm.
but it had been talked about in the clique. It had been said, certain things she was absolutely good at.
And then there was somebody that got with her, like
Oh,
within the clique
a
or
couple of
outside
them
the
got with her.
clique.
A
No.
couple
I ain't
of
talking
them.
about that. I ain't talking about the train. I'm talking about like after everything she did with all them, like giving top or doing whatever, fucking them and shit. Like what ended up happening? Like somebody ended up getting with her
I
just because
mean,
of that situation, or
if I had to be honest, I still don't think to this day that she knew that it was conversation. I knew that it was conversation because I happened to be around the clique of fellas at the time when the situation was going on, and I knew what was being said.
I'll say this. I think everything, and not the in that scenario, I'm pretty sure that that was conversation. But I think the bottom line is when people every everything is going to be a topic of conversation, whether you know or don't know. And
Yeah,
just be comfortable to know that, because I mean, like people could talk about a relationship I'm in, and you be like, damn, like like I didn't even know that you even know, like why is this even a topic? Like people talk about you, and you don't even know that they're talking about you. So just be aware that if that's that situation, that somebody said something, or if you
what it
around a group.
ultimately used to tell people was like, the reality of it is just like girls got their homegirls that they talk to, guys do too.
Mm-hmm.
And whether you know that they having these kinds of conversations or don't think that they're having these kinds of conversations, if they cool enough, if they click is tight enough, they are.
Yep.
And if their intention ain't nothing in behind it, a dude could do something without no feeling in behind it. Like it is mine. Like, okay, unless that guy was trying to wipe her up or add a kid or something by her, he a good portion of the time ain't tripping if the homie didn't hit.
Mm-hmm.
That's if he ain't with her. If he done moved on, 9 times out of 10, he ain't tripping off that. You
Yeah.
you you want him to be tripping. You think, oh yeah, he just said, no, my dear, he really don't care. He really told them that that asset was good.
Yeah, I put it like this. I think based off of the situation, I think if it's a pass around quote unquote situation, you got to look at it as that, and be like, well, you done moved around within the crew, blah blah blah. You know what I'm saying? I remember having a situation where in college, this chick I was messing with, and she had came in. I had messed with like a couple of her friends, but it wasn't by design. It just so happened to fall that way, where I was in a relationship with one of the women, or one of the women. Um, Other chick, we ended up just messing around, and two others, two of the others, we ended up just smashing and keeping it moving. And I'm with her with the chick after this, so this is like number four. Like I said, I wasn't targeting the crew, but she was like we had was messing around and stuff, and she was like we was looking at a picture. I was like, oh, that's da 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 da, and they had stayed within the dorm, like the next dorm, whatever. But anyway, so she was like, I was like, oh, da 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 da, and then I was like, she was like, yeah. Then she got inquisitive. She was like, hey, did you mess with her? I was like, yeah. And then she's like, who else in that photo have you messed with? And I was like, three people. It was only five. It was like five people in the photo, and her. So it's five people, including her. So it was only one person in the photo that I hadn't messed with, and
Mhm.
She didn't talk to me from that. I was like, you want to know? I told you the truth. I could have lied and said I didn't mess with none of them, and kept it moving. But my honest ass, like, because it's funny too. Like, I really did like her.
Yeah.
And like I said, it wasn't like I had just smashed her. Like, and the thing is, yeah, like sometimes women could be so territorial in the sense that, like,
Mhm.
this was probably 2 or 3 years after college, but I had messed with them girls while in college. You know what I'm
Mhm.
saying? And it was
Mhm.
before I graduated. So it's like it could have been like a situation where it's like 3 or 4 years since I messed with one of her friends. But yeah, she would not. She was over. I'm like, okay, well, hey, maybe it just wasn't meant to be. But yeah, I was like, yo, that
Mhm.
wasn't like I
And
said. We was just running the
this,
train in the dorm room. It was just like,
exactly. And this situation took place when I was in college too. It just happened to be I was cool with this group of dudes that I just happened to be cool with them. I was cool with one of them and used to kind of be around them, and I knew, the things that they were saying, and I mean, and she ain't know they was like cool like that, but again, when you on campus and you in college, you don't always see a person's inner circle of who they kick it with when they at the dorm. You know what I'm saying? And stuff like that. And so the conversations have went around, they knew.
yeah,
And I hated it for her because in the back of my mind, I'm thinking she like she tagging the good ones. I mean, because I ain't gonna say they was no Ruthie Poo dude.
uh-huh.
You think you coming up to tear, but at the end of the day, this was conversation. This was conversation.
Mm-hmm.
I witnessed the conversation. I know it was conversation.
Mm-hmm.
And you know how sometimes men dangle their hooks, see who bite. And sometimes women don't think that thing is real too. I be like, y'all know that is real. Sometimes they'll dangle a little hook out there, see who jump on that line, just shoot their shot, so to speak.
Mm-hmm.
And then you get into these relationships or these situationships, and then you have these undescribed or untalked about expectations, and you like, look,
Mm-hmm.
now I ain't say I was gonna do this forever.
Yeah.
I didn't say
Look,
this was gonna be the
I,
expectation forever. I did this to win you over. I did this to,
mhm.
make you look at me once or twice or three times. You know what I'm saying? And then
Yeah.
y'all get into these situations, and some of them, I always say some people marry for finance, and some people marry for the title, and some people marry for love. Some people marry people because they want the win.
Mm-hmm.
Especially if you're a guy that, has a reputation or whatever, you just want to be the one to be like, but he chose me.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and all the while, expectations were never really talked about.
Yep.
I don't have too much sympathy for certain women that, know what type of men they got and then want to be out here talking about he would never. Well, he was doing that before y'all got together. You never put a stop to or put your expectations out there. Like, if we make this next step, that's a deal breaker for me, you know. And then when it's happening, then it happened once, it happened twice, and three times, or a kid or something comes out of the situation and you still there. Don't nobody want to hear you complaining.
Yep.
For what? There was never any expectation set.
Yep. Let me say this. It's back to the and I don't want to keep harping on it, but back to the moving into the house and stuff like that. I'm just gonna throw some numbers out there, and they can have. I don't know if they have this amount of money, but say for instance, he's living by himself. He's making. I just say he's making 70, $80,000 a year. Um, and that number could go higher, but I'm just gonna say it on the low end. But and say she's making 60, $70,000 a year. So now they move into the house together. they're both making. They got a house with 150,000, that they making, but they got 3 kids along with that he has to split now. So, but he has to be responsible for as far as the entitlement of the house and mortgage. So he's still paying the same thing that he had to pay. Plus, he has to deal with a family of So it's like I said, going out on a date with the family. That's instead of that's $100, that could be $300, or that could be so all of these
Mhm.
things need to take into account that his lifestyle is changing, your lifestyle is changing, but let's change together. And that's okay. I think that's the most important part, understanding that, yeah, I mean, there's going to be a lack of this just because of you know you're building a family. I mean, of course you could still be you could have chivalry and all that stuff, but things have changed. You are adjusting. Like I have to wake up to kids versus I wake up to a silent house, or now I have to
Mhm.
make sure that they get to school on time, you know, versus me, trying to make sure I get to work on time now. It's just all these little things that I feel like sometimes with people in general, I ain't gonna say like women or men, but I feel like people feel like, or a person feel like you have to take on their things that are about them, but they're not comfortable with taking your things,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
it's like you got, like I said, man or woman, like you just got to be cautious and understand that, you know, you're bringing baggage in this too. Not necessarily baggage like in bad relationships, but you're bringing a lot of things where that person has to adjust to you,
Mhm.
and it should go back and forth. It's like, of course, that conversation needs to happen. I don't know, like I said, I don't know if the conversation happened before they decided to move in together. Like, hey, um, I'm still expecting this, or this still needs to happen for me to continue within this relationship. Because now you're staying together. There is no like, I mean, like I said, I don't know the structure of the household, but say for instance, it's his house, then they break up. Like, who moves out? Like, who gets kicked out? It's like, do the wife or the like I said, they cohabitate, and do the woman with 3 kids get kicked out? And it's like, oh shoot, you a fucked up nigga. Like, you threw out a, a family, out of your house, but the relationship broke up, so it is what it is. Or do he leave his own house and it's just, it could be so muddy, like
Or
especially.
so convoluted, especially when, like we say, some of these hard conversations were never talked about the what ifs.
Hmm.
I always refer to this statement that was made probably 25, 30 years ago, but Judge Judy said it.
Hmm.
And she was like, you got to think with your head and not your heart. Because the heart going to want what the heart wants.
Hmm.
But if that happens to change and you haven't made logical decisions with your head, it could cost you.
Hmm.
And that goes into those conversations like with people that do have assets and things that they've acquired prior to marriages, when they don't talk about prenups and they don't talk about the woulda, coulda, shoulda, and then something goes wrong and then somebody feels entitled to something. And then you got one person saying, well, I had this, that, and the third before you got here. But yet you're now obligated to give me 50, 60% of that you work for, because we never took the time to talk about, what if this doesn't work out? What if things don't go a certain way? And when you don't talk about these roles when it comes to um merging lives and expectations, and you go, well, this should be your job. You should be the homemaker. Back in the day when women didn't work as much, some roles were clearly defined. Like, you had the wife as being the homemaker, and she cooked and did laundry and she made sure the household, was ran in a way that the man didn't have to do much besides come home, relax, he's fed, all of the things that need to be taken care of, because he has financially provided for the household for this to take place, and provided for you the time for it to take place. But in this day and age, when, like you said before, most households require two incomes,
Mm-hmm.
and a lot of times women just want to be independent. You want to work, you want to be able to contribute, but then we don't talk about what the roles look like. Because this is all muddled now. If I'm at work 6, 7, 8 hours out the day, you at work 6, 7, 8 hours a day. Who is responsible for taking out the trash? Who is responsible for doing the dishes? Who is responsible for doing the laundry? Because in those sentences, in those situations, the argument is fair. You tired and I am too.
Mm-hmm.
But then it goes back to, but it still got to get done. So when we don't talk about these things and we just assume, okay, well, that's the man's job. And he might be thinking, you are able to body, you can't take the trash out. Like, since when did that become my job when you work and I work? How are you any more tired than I am? You don't want to clean up the dogs, but they are dogs. If I'm tired, you tired, but it still got to get done.
Yeah, no, so let me ask you this question. Do you think that prenups are necessary, or are do you well two it's a two-part question. Do you think that
Okay.
they're necessary, and do you think that people are offended by them, or women are offended by them?
I think I think people are, and I'm gonna say women and men because it depends on who has the more money,
Okay.
or the more assets that they get offended when those kind of conversations come up. But when I feel like if you have things that you want to protect during that courting phase, that's one of them hard conversations that need to be had.
Mm-hmm.
You might have your own foundation, like again, like I said, I'm using you a lot as a reference because you're a single man with some things. You have a home, you have a job, you might have an LLC. A lot of these things you had prior to saying I do. Now we need to talk about how much they mean to you. What does that look like and value to you if this doesn't work out? Because you might now, and a lot of times, most situations don't break up on happy terms. We literally talking about I can't stand you, I hate you, or I want to see you fall, or I want to get all I can out of you. But then at the back of your mind, you like, I want to protect what I worked hard for, and vice versa. You have
Mm-hmm.
some women that come into situations that they have businesses, they have assets, they have properties, they have things that they're like, if this doesn't work out, I don't want to spend half of my money in court dividing up houses that I had before I had married you.
Mm-hmm.
And so, in that sense, when you have things prior to joining, I think it's fair to have that kind of hard conversation. Like, what is it you'd like to protect? What is it that I'd like to protect? And go protect those assets.
Mm-hmm.
Now, if y'all create something during the course of your marriage, it's only fair that you split it 50-50 because you created it or you developed it, you purchased it, you acquired it during the course of the marriage. Meaning at some point in time, we were a partnership.
Mm-hmm.
And I think in that sense, it's only fair that you just go straight down the middle. You ain't put no more, no less than I did. Even if you put in more money, we did it together. We did it during the time frame where we thought we was gonna be together forever, and we in this thing to the bitter end. And I was supporting you, and I didn't know it was gonna fail. I didn't know if it was gonna succeed, but if it did, I feel like the wife is just as entitled to or husband to half of whatever is acquired during the course of a marriage. But if you absolutely have assets and things that you want to protect, no, you shouldn't go into a union blind
Mm-hmm.
because it costs money to break up. It costs, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like you literally hear about people being in
Right.
litigation or in court
I mean,
for years
not
trying to
even,
divide up assets. And it's like, you
and
know
not
what you had when you came into this.
I mean, but not even just assets. I mean, you're breaking a relationship up too. So when I say that, as in you're losing the mom, the person's mom, you're losing the person's dad, you're losing the person's friend. Like it's like the assets are definitely, the main thing, like with, when you're doing it within the prenup. But it's just so crazy to even, I never understood, and this, I mean, that's why I'm not married, but, and I would get married, but I never understood. I've always abided by, if I get married, I wouldn't get divorced. And I feel like sometimes we operate that, okay, well, if this happens, then this ain't go, I'm gonna get out of this. And it's like, well, you kind of got to go into it with the attitude that you're not, but at the same time, as you was just saying, you have to protect yourself as well. And some people get offended by protecting what's yours,
Mhm.
because it's yours. It's like, well, I don't know, 30 or $40,000. Well, I have a lot of sneakers. You know what I'm saying? I have a lot of
Mhm.
things
Mhm.
that have high value, including my DJ stuff and all that stuff. But it's just understanding that, like, hey, what you, like you said, what you come in with, that's what you're leaving with, and then what we build together and splitting it. But it's just weird because I remember, like, I had a friend. Well, they're still friends, but I thought that they had the perfect relationship. I was like, damn, like they gonna be together forever type of stuff. Been in their house and kicking it. Then, they ended up getting divorced or trying to get divorced, and it got messy. I testified in court for them. It's just like, it's like, damn, it's like I never thought that it would ever get to that point. But it was literally trying to fight. They were fighting for money. They was fighting for custody. It like they were trying not to have someone or have the other person have custody, or they had to do it the way that they wanted them to have custody. I was like, damn. I was like, it was scary because, like I said, it's just one relationship, but it's just a relationship that I thought was never going to end, and it did. And I mean, the dude ended up getting remarried and stuff, or ended up marrying someone else, and I don't think that she's married, but or the woman, but it's just crazy that I thought that they had the perfect relationship. Like, we used to
Mhm.
kick it. I go to their house, all
Mhm.
of like they were kicking it in college and stuff like
Mhm.
that. After college, had a couple
Mhm.
kids, and then now everything is just. I'm talking about like I had to go to court. You know what I'm saying? Like, I mean, of course, it was within COVID, so I had to like log on because I was a witness. And I'm like, damn, like this is. I mean, this is wild. How the level that it got to. From something that I perceived as a perfect relationship, and I felt like they were, but shit happened, and that's what caused it to shit to go awry. So,
Mhm.
but
Yeah. And this is again when you go to how well did you know this person before y'all went that far?
yeah,
A lot of times, and I've witnessed a couple situations very similar to what you just described, where it just got ugly. And for a long time they put on a good front. Everybody kind of thought like, okay, y'all doing good. And
hmm
behind closed doors, things weren't so great. There
yep,
was some infidelity. There was some poor business deals that went down. That they lost the money and different things. But at the same time, I thought to myself, how well did you know this person? Because
yeah,
my theory is a lot of times people do stuff when they get on the defense during the midst of a breakup because there's still feelings there. If there's no feelings there, you don't care if a person move on.
yeah.
You,
The
you
feelings, the
simply
feelings
don't
have
care.
changed. The feelings have changed from love to hate,
Yeah,
and there's
to
more.
hate. And so and now you're at a place where I mean I can't stand you.
Yeah,
And you be thinking to yourself, how did y'all get here?
yeah,
How did you not see the red flags? How did y'all not know that she had the propensity to do this or he had the propensity to do that? Or did you know? And again, I go back to those few titles that some people want. Some people look married for money, some people married for love, some people married for the title, and some people married for the win.
Mm,
Which category were you in?
yeah.
Were you so love struck that at all the red flags you just was like, I don't see them. They on the field, but the ref didn't pick them up and put them back in his back pocket. I don't know what happened to them. They disappeared. Then you got some people that are social climbers, and you do it for the title. You This person may be, an elite person in the community or whatever, and you just want to be associated with that name, that reputation. You want the title of being Mrs. Jones, Mrs. Robinson, Mrs. Whoever. You know what I'm saying? You
Mm-hmm.
got some people that married for the win. You do it because this dude a dog, but he might look good. He got the money. He got the this. He got the clout. He got the whatever. And you want to be like, he chose me.
Yep. What was it? What they used to call it back in the day? Pick me, what, pick me something. Pick me quiche. I forgot. It was some little phrase that they it used to be coined back in, not back in the day, but like the past 5 or 10 years. Like you want to be a pick me something. I can't remember what it is, but yeah, it's just interesting that like going back and forth. I don't ever like to get married. I don't ever want to be in a situation, even if we're getting divorced. I honestly, I love that person enough to, like I said, like I said, I can only speak for not being married, but I would hope that the way that I would react would not be, like I said, that marriage. I was like, damn. I was like, they literally, like I said, I literally had to go to court and testify. You know what I'm saying, about some stuff, and I'm just
Mhm.
like, damn. I had never thought that this would get to this point. As far as their
You
relationship, and
watching this couple that you done kicked it with, you'd have been to their house, you'd have been around the barbecues and all this, and now they fighting over when the kids can come over.
yeah,
And you be like, it's done got to that.
yep,
It really done got to y'all can't come to an agreement about when the kids can come over.
yep,
And
fighting
if
to
you'd have been
something else
around
that,
the way y'all around here singing happy birthday, blowing out the candle.
I mean, but just imagine that, right? Like the kid's having a birthday party, and you still mad at him, or she's still, or you still mad at her, and it's like, and y'all still mad, like y'all are mad at events that y'all have to participate now together for the sake of the children, and it's like, man, like I don't ever want to have a bad. It hasn't been too many relationships that I was in that ended where it was sour. You know what I'm saying? Like where um I want to punch somebody, or I want to,
Or I hate you to the
yeah,
point where I wish
yeah,
death on you.
ain't nobody I hate that I've been in a relationship at all. But it's just crazy too. I feel like, they see each other, and ain't nobody around, like it might be on site, you know? Like,
Yeah,
so, yeah.
seriously, that's some real stuff. And
Mhm.
and you think to yourself, but I always tell people you only react when you still got some feelings there.
Yep.
If there's no feelings there, you don't care.
Yep.
This person can walk in here with my first cousin on my mama's side, my favorite cousin, and be like, we finna get married. Do you know I'm gonna congratulate y'all? I'm probably gonna come to the wedding and buy you a gift. Because if
Mhm.
I close that chapter, baby, write your own story. Cause I already know what I had. And it was a reason I walked away.
Mhm.
So now if he
And that's
learned anything from the experience he was with me to do you better,
mhm.
that's fine. But if I'm willing to walk away from something, for me personally, I'm done. But I don't
I'm
wish
checked
you
out.
ill.
I'm I'm
Because
checked.
here's the thing, I feel like everybody deserves happiness. And if
Mhm.
somebody's not making you happy or you don't find happiness with that person, who are you to deprive that person from moving on to find what works for them? This
Yep.
didn't work.
Mhm.
And if it was meant to be, it would have worked itself out. We would have figured something out. We would, but when you could get to a place of humbleness to say, I'm mad at you because you cheated on me. Okay, but then I gotta ask myself, what was I not doing at home that made this person do that?
Mhm.
And it could be a plethora of things. Maybe you the type that don't want to do nothing every night.
Mhm.
Maybe this person attracted to the opposite sex. That's becoming a new reality.
Mhm.
Maybe it's we never have time because we both work different shifts and you're always gone and we don't have this intimate time to really be with each other and connect.
Mhm.
All these things at some point in time you have to sit back and take some ownership on and be like, okay, yeah, I did that. I did that.
So
If
let me say
the
this.
man was overly active all while y'all was chasing each other and you got him or whatever, then you just gonna out the blue say, I ain't gonna get this nigga done for 3 months. And you don't think he gonna go fuck something?
Let me say
Okay.
this. I think it comes down to, and that's where the conversation is going. It comes down to accountability. A
Yeah.
lot of people are not. I mean, because it's easier to blame somebody else and say, it's easier to say infidelity
Yeah.
than what I wasn't doing.
What
And
led up to the infidelity?
yeah,
Yeah.
a lot of people don't like, and it's cool. I get it. Like that's like take accountability for the things that you did, and like because honestly, like say you talking about a relationship. I'm a very private person. You know what I'm saying? So say for instance, I'm talking about why I'm not with somebody no more. I'm not gonna say, well, they did that. Like I'm just go keep it moving. Like we didn't work out.
Mm-hmm.
Because anything that if I wanted to work it out, she wanted to work it out, we could have worked it out. Whether it was infidelity, whether it was money, whether it was anything. Like it just didn't work out. We reached a point that we couldn't be together no more and keep moving.
Mm-hmm.
Like because that makes it easier to say then I was fucking up, so she did this, or she was fucking up and I did this. Just keep it moving. Like, hey, look, it just didn't work out the way it should have been, instead of just automatically blaming somebody else. Because, like I said, there's two sides to every story. I always
That's
look at I always look at life as in like some people are meant to be in every chapter. Some people are only meant to be, in one chapter and keep it moving. Like life is a book. Like you are literally living stages of a book or your
yeah.
chapters of life to keep it moving. And some people just aren't meant to be in every chapter. And you just
And
got to
you're
keep it.
absolutely right. You're absolutely right. And in my experiences with the people that I've dated, I have not ended a situation with anybody that we're still not cool.
Yep.
Some of my friends find it hard to believe. Be like, you this. I'm like, no. I allowed them people to go be who they needed to be.
Yep.
I I can't be mad at you because I don't fit or check all the boxes for you.
Yep.
I don't have to stay, but I don't have to be mad at that because here's one thing I learned from my guy friends: if y'all wanted to, y'all would.
Mm-hmm.
If you wanted to be faithful to me, you would be faithful.
Yep.
If you wanted to be able to provide me with all of my heart's desires, you would move hell and high water to make sure. How do I know? Not only did I've been told that, but I saw it. I saw it in my parents didn't work out, but my grandparents was together to the day they died. And my grandfather was the same man who used to pick my granny feet up to put them in the car.
Mm-hmm.
So when you make the choice to say, I'm in this for the long haul and whatever it takes to make this person happy or whatever, I'm willing to do that, be that, or whatever. But if
Mm-hmm.
I can look at you and you're doing something that I feel is a deal breaker for me, I can't be mad at you because you're doing that. I can just set you free.
Mm-hmm.
I could let you have the ability to go do that. Why would I want you around me to cheat on me when I could just let you go and you could
Mm-hmm.
go do whatever it is you're doing?
Yep.
Why am I going to be mad at you because you dated 50 girls prior to me? So it might have took 49 of them to figure out what you like. I'm not going to be judging you off of that,
Mm-hmm.
but I'm very aware that you're a ladies' man. So sometimes you just have to accept what's being presented in front of you for what it is.
Yeah. I think people are you brought up. I don't think people are willing to accept reality and accept that
Oh,
it's like I said, it's blatant, it's in your face, it's it's what it is. Like a lot of people like the whole phrase "it is what it is." It literally is. Like it's not that complicated. I really feel like a lot of people try to make you know let people be who they are, try to adapt and they adapt to you. If that doesn't work, there's other people out there. You don't
sure.
have to stay locked in if you don't feel like and I can speak to relationships that I'm in, that when I'm in a relationship I'm fully engaged, but at the same time, if you're not, I'll be hurt if you're not, but at the same time, if you don't want to be in it, then I'm not going to try to convince you to stay.
No. And why should you?
Yeah.
Because to me, that's just making the animosity grow. This is how people get to a place where it's be like, I can't stand you. I don't want to never be like, I can't stand you because I can love you as a human being. I mean, you get hit by a car, I'll come to your funeral.
Mm-hmm.
I might not pay for it, but I'll come.
Mm-hmm. Nah,
I don't want to wish bad on nobody. I think everybody has the right to be happy in the spaces and places that make them happy. And if it don't work, it don't work. Can
mm-hmm.
you be hurt about it? Yes, be hurt. Deal with them emotions and move on.
Yep.
It frustrates me to see people that carry that over to their kids, carry that over to different stages. I can't stand him. He can't, they can't go over there. I don't want no girl around them and all that. That's weird to me
Yep.
because realistically, you're only reacting off the hurt that was imposed on you.
Mm-hmm.
And then it's with a straight face to tell you, I don't give a damn about that. And I don't care. I don't care. You care, or it
Yep.
wouldn't matter.
Yep.
You got women that get break up, divorce, whatever the case may be, and then all of a sudden don't trust their kids with the daddy. Well, you trusted them enough to lay down with them with no protection.
Yep.
What they say about your judge?
Yep.
You had children with this man, and I used to tell them all the time, you gotta trust a person till they give you a reason not to.
Yep.
If you the father or the mother of that child, they got every right to be in that child's life until they do something that makes you question their ability to keep them safe, to keep them, protected. Until that's challenged, you gotta trust that this person you laid down with no protection and had
Mm-hmm.
a child with is gonna do right by you and that child. You gonna come out the gate talking about I don't trust him with my son and my daughter. Why not? You trust them with you?
Yep. Yep. So, yep. So on that note, we go wrap up. Uh Thank you, Toya,
No
for jumping
problem.
on. We go talk again whenever we go. I'm not gonna say the day because I'm gonna put this out in a couple days, but um, can't wait to talk to you again. This is great conversation. We go keep the power. We go keep it moving, and we go keep it going. Um, Drop another one next week. We'll figure this out. Make sure you tune in to the Reality or Not podcast. Make sure you like, subscribe, leave a comment, whatever you want to do. You ain't gotta like. I don't give a shit. But anyways, Toya, what's some parting words that you got?
I don't have any. Be true to yourself. Walk in your truth. Ask the hard questions. Um, Define your role. Define your expectations. So there are no surprises down the line. Those are my parting words. So you all have a great night.
All right, you too. Great talking to you. Talk to you soon.